The City of Lago Vista holds its City Council meetings on the first and third Thursdays of each month at 6:30 p.m. in the Council Chambers of City Hall. Council meetings are also streamed live in real time.
This morning, he couldn't see it until this afternoon. Way after they playing home.
All right.
And,
I have 6:30.
okay, and Donnie told you he had one item.
Yep. All right, notice is hereby given that the Lago Vista City Council is holding a regular meeting on Thursday, November 15th, 2018, beginning at 6:30 p.m. in the City Council chambers at City Hall, 5803 Thunderbird, Lago Vista, Texas, as prescribed by VTCA Government Code Section 551.041 to consider the following agenda items. Items do not have to be taken in the same order as shown in the meeting notice. Sandra, please note that we have all our council members except for Suzanne here. We have yourself, Josh, we have Danny.
Yes, sir.
Dottie, Dave, Roy,
Star.
who have Star,
And Meredith.
and Meredith. And some of our newly elected council members in the audience as well. All right, if you would, please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. And we have something new. We will also be saying the Pledge of Allegiance to the Texas flag tonight. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor
The
the
Texas flag, I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Right, if you'll remain standing, I would like to welcome Pastor McLean Rabb from Trinity Anglican Church. He will be leading us in our invocation tonight.
All right. If y'all will pray with me. Heavenly Father, we gather before you and we give you thanks for this beautiful day. Lord, we give you thanks for this gathering here tonight, for those who you have put in place of leadership for this community. And we pray, Lord, that you would guide this time tonight, that you would guide each of these city council members as they seek to lead and love and serve the people of Lago Vista. Lord, give them wisdom tonight in any decisions that need to be made, that this would be a place that is known where the government cares for, loves its people. And Lord, we pray that you would be with, protect, cover our first responders, Lord, police officers, firefighters, those who serve in the medical field, Lord, that they would be safe, that they would have wisdom, that they would have skill as they serve those in need. And Lord, just go before us as a community, we pray. We thank you that you are with us. We thank you that you are over us. We thank you that you love us. We pray this all in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you, sir. All right, citizen comments. In accordance with the Open Meetings Act, council is prohibited from acting or discussing, other than factual responses to specific questions, any items not on the agenda. Okay, first of all, I have Joan Davis.
You want to talk right away?
It's your turn.
Yeah. Okay. All right. My name is Joan Davis, and I brought this up before about the post office, but we really have some issues about the post office, and it's not going to get done, and it's compounded by the fact that Amazon is having packages through the post office, and they usually there's one person at the post office, and there isn't anybody I ever talk to, and everybody I talk to has the same experience. Things are lost, and they're not doing anything about it. And Cedar Park kind of fought for a long while to get their own zip code. Apparently, Leander has 49,230 people. Jonestown has 2,000, as of the 2017 census. Jonestown has 2,071 people. Point Venture has 958. Lago Vista has 6,815. That means a total of 53,000 people are being served by one floating postmistress that is sometimes never there. And she goes between all these post offices. I've gotten mail from all over the place. I've gotten it lost. I wound up personally paying $1,320 more for having a Medicare Advantage when I was entitled and cleared by the VA to get benefits starting in November of last year, and they mailed out my card and my information. I didn't get it. It never went back to them, by the way, either. And so I was paying $220 a month when I could have dropped that. My husband was on it, but I dropped it with the AARP Plan F. So then also we had down payment or something coming back. Something was coming back from Toyota in Round Rock, and they sent a check for $2,300 and change. I never got it. They never got it back. I don't know who got it. Somebody chewed it up, I guess. And then they turned around. They had to wait 30 days to give me that check back. And it's just, and I get mail for Lakeshore. I get mail for Dawn Drive. I'm not near Dawn Drive, and I'm not on Lakeshore. But I get mail the same way at the post office. So the only way that you can do anything about it, and I had called before and talked with Ed about this, and I brought it up once before at one of the meetings, and did a little bit of research on it. They have, I believe, 78641 zip code, and apparently we have 78645 along with Jonestown, Point Venture, and Lago. And if you're over 6,000 population and you have a freestanding post office, you're supposed to be able, the city is supposed to be able to request that we have our own postmaster in the place. And they're always shorthanded. That's the reason for this thing happening, but they're getting all that extra money. There's an article in the paper that I took out that shows packages set back the post office. U.S. Postal Service is getting higher revenue, but a wider loss from package delivery. They're not even talking about mail. And Donald Trump even criticized it was hurting the agency, the post office, through contracts with shippers like Amazon. And I've got copies of this thing. So they are, making a lot more money, and the mail is ridiculous. So
Your 3 minutes is up, so
Okay.
I'm gonna have to cut you off.
So I hope the
But
city
just so you know,
councils
we
will-
have been in touch with Postmaster, and we've been in touch with our U.S. Representative Roger Williams. We have requested it.
Well, they said that
No.
you have to talk to Consumer Affairs in San Antonio. I have a new number for that. They gave me a new one, but,
Well, if you'll go ahead and email me that or bring me that in, because
Okay.
the people we're talking to say no way.
okay.
So,
All right, but it's kind of ridiculous, 53,000 people, and look, we lost in the shuffle. We should be able to have our own zip code. If we do, then we could have a postmaster. Thank you.
it would be nice, yes.
All right.
All right, next I have Dick Barrett. Yes.
Can I have somebody to hand me the mic?
It comes off. Nobody told me that.
Thank you very much. I'm not doing real well tonight as far as moving around goes, so I will keep this short. I have a question for the council, or maybe it's Rory, I'm not sure who. Supposedly some work was done in cleaning up behind some of the subdivisions, like the one I live in at Coyote Trail is on. And I don't think it got quite done. I'd like to know if you folks think it is finished, and if not, why not, and what's it going to take, basically, to get it done? And when?
Mayor, if I may, there we go. The work that we did before was the specialized hazardous material collection event. We did do some cleanup in the area that you're talking about. We do have other events that we're going to continue to do some cleanup activities in talking with the mayor and some of the upcoming scheduled events. Our goal is to be able to place additional dumpsters out and then have manpower and go do some other collections. I don't think cleanup in the community is going to be finished for a longer period of time. It takes active citizens to be able to determine what's garbage, what needs to be picked up, and then it just takes that collaborative effort. So it's not finished. We will return back and try and do some other pickup.
Did anybody that was working on it get dog bit like I have a couple times?
None of our crew were dog bitten on the days
I
we
got
were
the
out there.
evidence.
And just so you know, the actual specific cleanup was a grant provided by CapCog. That's a two-part event. That was part one. Part two will be in the springtime. So it is not done. There will be more.
It'll be in the spring. Okay, thank you.
Next on the list, Dale Mitchell.
Good evening, Mayor and council members and city staff and citizens that are here and viewing. I first want to apologize to Ron and to Kevin for missing the 4:30 function. I got so involved with the Hill Country Singers set up at the PAC Center, preparing for this weekend's concerts, that it left my mind. But I'm here tonight to talk about the comprehensive master plan and the decision, or at least the plans to try to move City Hall to the village center. That's a bold plan. It's a bold plan, of course, to do that, and I don't think it's supported by the comprehensive plan. When you go to pages 182, I do commend the mayor for reading the plan in thorough detail, picking out the phrases that he wanted to use to support his decision and things of that nature. But it is, we do have a lot of stuff here in here. I will assure you that those of us who served on that committee never visualized moving the municipal complex or parts of it to any place other than here. So when you go to the pages 182 to 189, we've got 6.5 pages there that are essentially devoted to the comments by the people at the third town hall meeting. And not once do you find anything in there that talks about them moving anything away from this complex here. Not once. And when you go to the next pages that are talking about, and I should read you that question, I think, please describe how you envision Don Drive in the future with emphasis on infrastructure, business, attraction, aesthetics. And then the next section there is, please describe how you envision the intersection of FM 1431 and Loman Ford in the future with emphasis on infrastructure, business attraction, and aesthetics. And the real question there was not just Loman and 1431, it was the entire 1431, including Bronco, in terms of our discussions during that time frame. And here I did not see any description there about moving municipal buildings into that. It was all oriented toward restaurants and retail. What I did find as a result of this, the mayor pointed out some things in his explanation, and I did get the spreadsheet subsequent to last meeting, and in there I look at the cost for expansion that you compared to expansion for City Hall. I think those cost figures are way out of line. To say $500,000 for build out and $39,000 annual triple net, I do not believe that public money should be put into a private commercial endeavor. I think that public money should be used for our own enhancements within the city. The increased operational costs, I don't know whether you've got those planned in there or not, but when you talk about the internet service that's provided here, we're looping off of this library and they get a reduced fee. And for the telephone system, we're working off of the police department's telephone system. So you've got to have new internet into that village if you go over there, and you've got to set up your own new telephone system over there. And my time is probably up, but I'll be back.
Thanks, sir. All right, so that's all that I have signed up. If there's anyone else who has not signed up but would like to speak for 3 minutes. All right. We will move to items of community interest. Pursuant to Texas Government Code Section 551.0415, the City Council may report on any of the following items: expression of thanks, gratitude, and condolences, information regarding holiday schedules, recognition of individuals, reminders regarding city council events, reminders regarding community events, health and safety announcements. All right, let's see. Does anybody have anything? I know right now, holiday schedule, we will be closed on Thanksgiving Day.
Mayor, I'll make one more pitch for the library's book sale on November 30th and December 1st. It'll be over in the meeting room over at the library.
When's the Christmas tree lighting?
December 3rd.
3rd, so that's before the next council. So Christmas tree lighting on December 3rd.
Mr. Mayor, the St. Mary's has their bazaar this Saturday,
10 to 4.
10 to 4.
All right, thank you. Anything else? All right. We will go into action items. Let me bring this up. All right, discussion and consideration of ordinance number 18-11-15-01, an ordinance by the City Council of the City of Lago Vista, Texas, providing for an order canvassing the returns of the City of Lago Vista's November 6, 2018 general election for the office of Council Member Place 2, Council Member Place 4, and Council Member Place 6, all offices of which are elected on an at-large basis, providing for an order canvassing the returns of the special election for the purpose of submitting to the duly qualified voters of the city for adoption or rejection 7 charter proposed amendments to the existing charter of the city. All right, sir, you have the lead.
Mayor, we provided a handout to each member of the City Council with the official results provided to us today by the Travis County Board of Elections. You will see on that there are 2 pages with the official results tallied together. This is the cumulative report. It shows the 3 city council places, and then it shows the propositions A through G. You will see on the official reading of these documents, we have council member place 2, the total votes, 2,880 votes. And then the high vote comes from our propositions, and that vote was, I believe, 3133 being the total votes for the election. The 3rd page goes to the precincts. The first page that's in the packet is precinct 308. There's 2 pages for that. The second one is precinct 371. And then the page 5 and 6 is precinct report 373.
You got 371 in there?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Excuse me. All right, any discussion? All right, I'll accept the motion.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we accept ordinance number 18-11-15-01.
I'll second it.
Arch. All right, Art seconded. All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Mayor, inside the ordinance presented to the council, we need to clarify the total votes. So if it satisfies the members making the motion, the total votes for each place, as I was going to go through and make those numbers, but I want to make it after the vote. Don Barthlow, total votes 1,510. Kevin Sullivan, total votes 1,370. For Council Place 2, Selima Harbison, total votes 1,200. Timothy J. Collins, 1,637. And for Council Place 6, Frank Robbins, 1,468. Darnell Power, 1,256. So in section 2, that should read that Don Barthlow was duly elected to the office of Member Place 2. Timothy J. Collins was duly elected to the office of Council Place 4. And Frank Robbins was duly elected to the office of Council Member Place 6. Those would need to be amendments into that ordinance.
All right. Everyone good with that?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. All right. Any further discussion? All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. Right. Number 2, receive comments from outgoing Councilman Smith, Councilman Sullivan, and Mayor Pro Tem Bland. Gentlemen, the floor is yours.
Yeah, I'll go first. I'm short and sweet, and I'll let Ron go. Mine are all just thanks. I want to thank all the staff members that I've dealt with over the last 2.5 years. It's just been absolutely wonderful, from city manager to department heads. Everyone's been very professional, respectful, and responsive to the things that I've asked for and trying to do the job. And I will say the same about the legal staff. Have been wonderful in getting responses back to me so that I can try and make the decisions that I have. So thank you very much to staff. I also want to thank the current and former council members that I've worked with. I think we've accomplished a lot over the last 2.5 years and couldn't have done it without some very professional and responsive volunteers in our community. Everybody needs to remember, all of us up here, we volunteer for these positions. It's not paid. And so all of these people have given their time to try and help make their community better. And I believe everybody up here has done that in spades, as well as the people I worked with in the previous year. And the last thing I'd like to say is a huge thanks to Councilmember Smith. He's been a huge mentor to me as the time that I've been on here, been a yeoman, worked tirelessly for the last 12 years in city service. I don't think people understand just how much he's put into the community. He is the epitome of a servant leader and can't say enough good things about him. So anyway, just wanted to say that as it took off. Thank you all very much.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, for those remarks. I have 4 things I want to cover tonight. Some things that we've endured, some things we've accomplished, some things to think about as we go forward in time, and some thank yous. I got on the council in May of 2010, and from 2010 to 2015, we endured 4 years of drought and 5 years of a local recession concurrently. Lake levels were down 56 feet below full, and over the years, I've worked with 17 council members in 8 years, 6 city managers, 3 interim city managers, 3 LCRA general managers, 4 public works directors, 3 development services directors, and 3 city attorneys, just to give you an idea. With that much change and differing priorities, it's hard to stay focused when sitting up here. Constant education was required, especially on water issues and all issues for that matter. I wanted to do it over and over and over again as we change people on the council. Some things that we have accomplished as an entire council, I don't mean any one, but collectively, water was our biggest problem area, but it's also our biggest opportunity. Growth came after the 2015 Memorial Day floods that refilled the lakes, and again last month. I've seen the lake down 56 feet and I've seen it up 30 feet, or about an 86-foot spread on Lake Travis. We've implemented water treatment plant number 3 over on the east side of the city, and that has future expansion plans already built into the facility for future growth. We've implemented upgrades to plant 1 and brought them up to current configurations, and we've dismantled water treatment plant number 2 at the Dawn Drive Circle because it's capacity we don't need and an aging facility at that. I did have the opportunity to work 8 months on the steering committee for the comprehensive master plan that was approved in May of 2016. The library was expanded. We had new meeting rooms put in, computers, shelf space. We made street improvements to reduce primarily vehicle accidents that were occurring. We got Dawn Street resurfaced in August of 2015, along with some new water and sewer pipes. We got Loman Ford resurfaced between Paseo de Vaca and Post Oak back in 2015. We got Boggy Ford at Grace Fellowship Church resurfaced because of the numerous accidents that were occurring there during church services, I might add. And we've added 2 traffic lights, one at Dawn Street on 2015 and Boggy Ford in 2018. And we implemented a new police station back in August 2010. So moving forward, what did I do while I was up here? Not just what the council did, but what was my contribution? Well, first and foremost, I'd like to be remembered for water. We did get LCRA to reduce our rates 17% in December of 2015. And just to let you know what that means, we're paying less for water today than we did in 2012. Okay? So every year since 2015, we're paying less than we did in 2012. We got a new water management plan in place, and you saw it working throughout the last floods. We did get 4 years of emergency orders to keep water in Lake Travis, and for those of you who were here during that time, that was actually I lost a lot of sleep during that time because I was deathly afraid the water intakes were going to come out of the water. And if you think people are mad about certain things, wait till they can't turn their water on or flush their toilets. Also, I was able to work with 8 different cities and utility districts around the Highland Lakes area to work with LCRA, and I got a chance to actually speak to the commissioners at the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality to keep water in Lake Travis back in 2015. In the area of Firewise, this is another one that I kind of championed. Charter member back in July of 2011. I wrote the initial protection plan back in 2011. And in September of 2011, some of you may remember, we had Bastrop fires and Steiner Ranch fires. And for those of you who were not here, it is actually frightening to watch embers flying past your house coming off of Steiner Ranch fires. We did become a recognized Firewise city in December of 2011. We were the 2nd city in Texas to receive that recognition. First one being Borger up in the Panhandle. We spent 2 years mitigating awareness and education, 2 years on demonstration projects. In the last 2 years, we worked on a vacant lot mitigation strategy by which our code enforcement has now brought in 450 lots into compliance. And if you ever watch the news, when you go home tonight, watch the news from Northern California, Paradise in particular. In Paradise, California, there are more firefighters fighting that fire than the population of Lago Vista. There's 8,000 firefighters fighting that fire. And so that's one of the things that used to keep me up at night. And so when people are asked to take care of their property, this is why you take care of your properties. You don't want to have California fires here. In the Green Center, we led the effort for a new Green Center in 2011 that opened up in 2012. And we need to identify a larger site if we're going to continue the Green Center operation because it's starting to meet capacity right now. Maybe this council or maybe the next council can finish that job. Some things to think about going forward in time. Number 1, debt. We've never been given the opportunity to vote for bonded indebtedness as citizens since 2015 when I arrived, and maybe earlier than that. So I'd ask the citizens to insist that future debt goes to ballot for approval before we incur the debt. When I came on the council, the debt was $28 million. It rose to $51 million, and now it's at $49 million. Number 2, social media. The anger, the demonization, and the hate on social media has got to stop. This fake news that's out there is very, very destructive, And I worry about our situation with government. I worry that future citizens may not want to serve on the city council under those conditions. This affects the family members as well. Council members, board members, commissioners, those are not paid positions like Councilmember Sullivan said. This also hurts our reputation as a city. Some citizens have openly expressed buyer's remorse after reading social media posts, thinking they made the biggest mistake of their life buying out here. So while you have the right to speak, understand there's a consequence associated with that. And third, get involved. If you don't like what's going on, get involved. Stay informed. Don't vent on social media. Most council members don't even go to those sites. Contact the city first, and if you're not satisfied, you can contact one of us. That's what we're supposed to do too. You must let the people know who can help that there's a problem. Better yet, if you don't like it, we have many, many applications available right now for boards and commissions as we go into the new year. Grab an application and become involved. Or run for city council. You can do that next August. And last, I'd like to thank the citizens for allowing me to serve 4 years on planning and zoning, 8.5 years on council, 12.5 years continuous service. This has truly been an opportunity of a lifetime. Very few people are afforded this opportunity, and I truly thank all the citizens for their support over the years. I'd like to thank this council, includes you too, Dick, for all the support and encouragement, and we've done many great things, and yet we still got some obstacles to overcome in front of us, so we're not done. I'd like to thank the staff for all their hard work day in and day out. They are the glue that holds the city together. The people may not know the many daily conflicts that our staff deals with on a daily basis. The city is experiencing growing pains right now, so patience is required. I wish the new council and the city staff all the best as the council deals with the issues of the day. Again, I thank you for this unique opportunity. Thank you.
Gentlemen,
We exit now?
you may exit the floor.
Hey, yes, thank you. That's four. Thank you. Rich.
You leaving too? I'm just going with you.
I'm gonna have to shuffle over.
All right, we will move to number 3. City Secretary to administer the statement of officer and oath of office to newly appointed council members Don Bartholow and Frank Robbins. Gentlemen, if you would.
Mr. Mayor, you might want to mention that Tim is not here because of illness. Yeah.
I'm fine.
You're giving up the corner spot? Man, that was the best spot in the house.
Yes, and I'm not happy about leaving it, but
You don't have to leave it. You're still 246. Or 1-3. Oh, you are 5, aren't you? Yeah, never mind. I'm lost.
Raise your right hand. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you have not directly or indirectly paid, offered, promised to pay, contributed, or promised to contribute any money or thing of value, or promised any public office or employment for the giving or withholding of a vote at the election at which you were elected, or as a reward to secure your appointment or confirmation, whichever the case may be, so help you God. Your oath, raise your hand. Do each of you solemnly swear or affirm that you will faithfully execute the duties of the office of City of Lago Vista Council Member 2 and 6 of the state of Texas, and will to the best of your ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state, so help you God? Okay. Come over here and sign.
While they're signing, I'll just let y'all know, Tim Collins could not be with us tonight. He is under the weather and could not be with us tonight. We will swear him in at a later date, probably the December 6th meeting, so he can have a photo op as well.
Frank, sign over yours, please. There's the other one.
Was it here?
Yes.
Well, number 4 is comments from newly elected council members. Do you want to make your speeches from up here or down there?
I want to make a speech, period. Where do we sit?
Right here, Frank.
2 is over there. 6 is at the end.
Get the wall.
Thank you.
Can I get a picture of everyone?
One, two, three. Thank you.
All right. So do either of y'all have some comments that y'all would like to make?
I think we've campaigned enough, ready to get to work.
All right. Thank y'all. We will move into public hearings. Number 5, the Lago Vista City Council will hold a public hearing and discuss a potential ordinance for a zoning district change from TR1 temporary restricted to R1E single-family residential for a tract of land located on the south side of Boggy Ford Road, immediately west of the intersection of Draper's Cove, 4.3546 acres of the W.A. Cook Survey Number 100, abstract number 2605. I will open the public hearing at 7:07 p.m. All right, staff presentation.
Yes, sir. For those of you who are familiar with the property, it's a fairly narrow strip of land along Boggy Ford Road. Although it remains to be seen exactly how the developer intends to develop the property in its final form, but the current intent is to develop it for single-family residential. He's obviously entitled to some zoning classification. For whatever reason, this property has, for quite a number of years, been saddled with the temporary designation, TR1, that of course basically includes no zoning rights whatsoever. Regardless of where it ultimately lies, he is asked for zoning that is somewhat typical for what's around him. The vast majority of the property there is in the R1C district. The primary difference between his request and those other properties is that it allows a slightly smaller residence to be built in terms of the minimum living area and a slightly taller house to be built than what is allowed in the R1C. It goes from 15 to 18 feet, and as I recall, it's reduced from, I believe, 1,700 to 1,500. It's in your packet, which I don't know if I have the exact numbers correctly, but those are the primary differences.
All right, anyone, council, have any questions?
Yeah, Roy, let me ask you one question.
Yes, sir.
Because part of that is right there where the Y is for going down High
Yeah.
Lakes and going down Lago.
And Eric and I have driven the property and looked at it. And obviously, within the city engineer's prerogative is, when they actually start, to develop, we will be issuing driveway permits.
Okay.
He has the ability to restrict where those go and how they're configured. And certainly, he's concerned about, exactly how those are built. There may be the possibility of some improvements prior to development there, but we're certainly aware of the problem.
Okay.
And of course, those will be addressed in the permitting
Is everyone
stages.
going to be pulling out straight back onto the street?
It's entirely possible for you guys that have been through this with me before. One of the things we did was ask the developer in his preliminary plat to increase the width of the lots commensurate with what's in the area, primarily so there would be the opportunity to build a safe turnaround on the property so they could drive straight out.
Right.
There'll possibly be requirements to pair the driveways together so that you have decent separation between the driveway locations where, to reduce turning conflicts and that sort of thing. It might be extreme, but there might even be a requirement that the driveways be configured where it's only right in, right out. That you have to go around the triangle, if you will, to make it slightly safer. Those will all be decisions that Eric will make, and I will caddy for him when he does, and because those are handled through the permitting process.
Right. Okay.
Anyone else? All right, public hearing. So do I have any comments or questions from the audience? All right, we will leave this public hearing open at this time. And we will move on to number 6. The Lago Vista City Council will hold a public hearing and discuss a potential ordinance for a zoning district change from C1C professional business office low-density retail to C2 commercial large-scale at 6300 Lowman Ford Road, known as the Lago Vista Civic Center Addition, Lot 81C, less 2,936 square feet, more or less, as conveyed to Travis County. And I will open the public hearing at 7:12 p.m. Staff presentation.
Yes, sir. You guys may remember that very recently you completed a zoning district change for the northwest corner of Lowman Ford Road and Dawn Drive for a property owner that was getting ready to market his property. And because he was marketing his property and was aware of the fact that long-term we will be making some anticipated changes in our ordinance relating to design review, district changes to make them more compatible with the traditional description that happens to, match what we have. As you guys may recall, the description of the C1 district is professional offices and light retail, and yet we have some uses that are way beyond that, and the same thing is true of the C2 district. One of the things in the comprehensive plan, in addition to a recommendation that the property along Lowman Ford be allowed for heavier retail uses, is to introduce things like mixed occupancy zoning and an overlay district, which kind of presupposes design review. The thought of the staff is that as part of that, you ought to look at modifying the districts and cleaning up some of those uses, maybe use the SUP approval process for some of the more intense uses, or, when they are adjacent to residential properties, that sort of thing. But once again, you had an owner previously that was about to sell his property, wanted to get ahead of that curve, if you will, was concerned about potential buyers that may be familiar with the traditional definitions of those districts and wanted to be able to market it for C2 uses, regardless of whether we change the zoning ordinance before he sells it. One of the property owners that were notified in that process has the other corner the opposite corner of Dawn Drive. He, of course, has tenant space available, and he had similar concerns that he might market some of his vacant space to somebody who may end up being non-conforming shortly thereafter. We told him, of course, that there was no real urgency to the matter, but he thought it was more convenient to do that before having a tenant end up being non-conforming rather than afterwards. So he is in front of you making a similar request. As you're probably aware that in this process, and we've been doing it up and down Loman Ford on a number of occasions, changing property to a heavier commercial zoning district, lo and behold, when we looked at the land use map, in this case, not only did it call for a lighter commercial use, in some places it recommended taking commercial property back to low-density residential. We basically determined that was a mistake, and of course later on your agenda, P&Z took that up and they have a recommendation to fix what they think are simply oversights in that regard. This is another property that, you know, like right across the street, you've got similar commercial uses that are much heavier, and in fact, you know, this is an example where the land use map may have simply overlooked that.
Roy, this is this corner that we're speaking of here is the southwest corner of Dawn and
Yes, sir.
Loman.
An existing building with tenant space that it was even previously occupied by use that's not traditionally considered a C1 use, but is traditionally a C2 use. And like I said, hopefully when we start talking about all the things that are recommended in the comprehensive plan, that we will do all that at the same time. I think it's best if not do certain things piecemeal. You know, a lot of the things we've been addressing most recently have been kind of in the urgent matter, if you will, correcting clear-cut errors. This is one that, you know, is a little more proactive and probably better done comprehensively. And these are simply guys that want to get ahead of that and not end up with either their new property owners or their existing businesses end up being non-conforming. The example I would give you are the two rezonings we've had over the last year about potential convenience stores. You know, those are both allowed in the current ordinance under C1. I suspect that we may be one of the few jurisdictions that would allow those in a C1 district.
Thank you.
Sure. Roy, are they, this says addition, are they actually looking at changing the structure on that?
No, sir. And the same thing's true of the other corner. You know, these are both existing buildings. They just simply, in one case, the one gentleman wants to market his property for sale. This gentleman's marketing his property for lease, or pieces of his property for lease. And once again, they don't want to have either a potential buyer or a potential tenant turn them down because of either future perceived nonconformities or in some cases, like I said, there's certain people that probably wouldn't even look at it because of the C1 zoning designation and fear that they might have future problems in that area.
I just wasn't aware that it actually had a name, and then when I saw it had a name in addition to it.
Well, that's the subdivision. You know, those are, you can get some pretty strange looking names for subdivisions sometimes, particularly in this jurisdiction.
Any further questions? Right, again, this is also a public hearing, so if there's anyone in the audience that would like to make comments, ask questions, please do so.
My name is Webster Veed. My wife Marianne and I own this property, and we've been owning it now for about 12 years. We are not modifying the building. We're not adding on to the building. Basically, we have a coffee shop that occupies 2/3 of the building, and for about 7.5 years, we had a beauty salon there. And that beauty salon closed and went out of business, and we have now released it to a second beauty salon. And in talking with Roy concerning the property that was being changed across Dawn from us, it became evident that the C1 zoning, actually the uses that we have currently with tenants, and the coffee shop's been there for over 2 years now, is actually more conducive to C2 zoning than C1 zone. So right now, as it stands, 3 of the 4 corners of Dawn and Loman are C2. We're the only C1. And the use of the property that has been leased to tenants and is currently being used by tenants is more appropriate in C2 than C1. And therefore, that's why we're asking the council to change the zoning to C2. And that way, all four corners of Dawn and Loman have the same zoning. And the tenants that we have there currently are in place and fit with that zoning. So the building has been used by tenants for going on about 8 years now that more fit in the C2 zoning. And my understanding is as time goes on, the hope is that the use definitions for C1 will be tightened, and that actually all of those uses that move over to C2 would eliminate our tenants from being allowed to operate any further, even if we had a new tenant come in who was doing the same type of operation. So we're just trying to bring up the zoning on our property to meet the other four corners and also to fit what the actual use of the building is. We're not modifying the building, we're not adding on to the building, and we're not changing the use of the building. And that's simple. That's all we're asking. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions? Again, anybody from the audience, it's open if you'd like to make a comment or ask questions. All right. We will also leave this public hearing open as well to be continued. And we will move to number 7. The Lago Vista City Council will hold a public hearing and discuss a potential ordinance amending various sections of Chapter 3, Building Regulations, and Chapter 14, the zoning ordinance, to exclude the LI, Light Industrial Zoning District, from the exterior finish requirements applicable to most other multifamily and non-residential zoning districts, to eliminate superficial attachments as a means to avoid regulations otherwise applicable to accessory structures, and to better define and regulate the locations where industrialized housing may be used for new residences or additions. Now we'll open the public hearing at 7:21 p.m.
Yes, sir. These are 3 examples of the type of what I would call repairs to the zoning ordinance that were discussed earlier. The first one is, quite frankly, one that I'm embarrassed to say I knew Councilmember Sullivan was an advocate for this. I just didn't realize how long and vocally he was advocating for it. His complaint is that the city rezoned property fairly recently adjacent to the C4 zoning district next to the airport. The idea was to encourage businesses to locate up there in an area where they might be appropriate. Unfortunately, whereas the property immediately next door could be a hangar that was a metal building, they were prohibited from building such a building. And as a result, it was increasing their cost to the extent that it was prohibiting those businesses from proceeding further. As a result, it was a simple fix. The C4 was excluded from those requirements. We simply made the adjacent property that's in the light industrial district equally exempt from those requirements so that they can look more like the buildings that are immediately next door. The second thing we addressed, as you guys are probably aware of, particularly the guys that live fairly near the golf course, is an example where people were building accessory buildings, large accessory buildings made of pre-engineered metal building products, and then attaching them with a breezeway and calling them an addition to their house where there were no requirements for how they could be built and what they could be built out of. It was a fairly simple fix to change the definition on what an accessory building is, and we've now closed that loop, and now it's got to be a legitimate living space that attaches the building before it's considered not an accessory building and therefore subject to the requirements of an accessory building, which means it matches the house. And we did not change that ordinance, it already exists. We just closed that loophole, if you will. On a similar note, the third question arose and it actually, I have my fingers crossed, we had a permit application. I don't know if it's been permitted, but you could, in Lago Vista, actually build a building entirely, from a pre-engineered building, as long as you put 25% masonry on it. The same thing was true of modular homes, which if you saw one, in most cases, you would, mistakenly call it a manufactured home. We've had a number of calls since I've been working here for people wanting to, build homes out of containers, shipping containers, and apply the 25% masonry. What we did was make the changes to the greatest extent allowed by state law and say that those forms of construction in regards to when they're used as housing need to be restricted to the mobile home / manufactured housing district unless they meet a requirement that's required an exemption by state law, where if they can prove that the appraised value of their proposed construction is at least equal to everything within 500 feet of it. So you'll see that exception in there. That's not my invention. That's a state statute that requires that. And so we've kind of ratcheted that up, and hopefully you'll no longer see metal buildings except in that one district where they're allowed.
Will there be any metal exterior finishes allowed at all?
Well, that right now, the answer is they're not prohibited. What we've done by this ordinance, if it is a component of a pre-engineered building, other than the roof itself, it cannot be used in any other zoning district other than the mobile home manufactured unit. We have coincidentally, we have another set of ordinances that's already been through the building committee. Will go in front of P&Z very shortly. We just advertised the public hearing that's required for Chapter 14 requirements that will clean up all the exterior building finish requirements and deal with them. They're a little vague right now. That won't be true when we're through. I can assure you. It's very specific, exactly how you require calculate the required percentages, exactly what materials allowed and which ones are prohibited.
I just wondering, because I've seen some pretty modern houses and stuff that have as a decorative finish, they have had some spots of
I can show you some homes built from containers, particularly in Europe, that will take your breath away. They're outstanding. And you can still build those in any district you want, and those won't be a problem because of the state requirement, as long as they can show you that they're appraised for value, equal or greater to anything within 500 feet. So it's, but unfortunately, that's not what the people have been calling to build here.
Right.
They've been calling, the ones the calls I've been fielding and the submittals that I've gotten are people that are looking for a lower cost form of housing. So the answer is it will not prohibit high quality products. It'll be the other end of the spectrum that will be regulated. Now, having said that, and I'm kind of jumping ahead of the game a little bit, but one of the discussions we had when we talked about the material requirements in the building committee and in the subcommittees that we've been working on is that what this might do is dictate a new residential zoning district where the requirements are a little bit less. Smaller house could be built and the finish requirements might not quite be so high. Something, where you wanted to build a more affordable home but not a mobile home. You didn't want to risk a mobile home showing up next door. So that might be something that follows up in the near future when we talk about cleaning up the zoning districts that we talked about earlier. That may end up being a part of that.
Any other questions?
Got a question behind you, Roy?
Yeah. Is there any grandfathering for places that are there existing?
There always will be, yeah. The laws about nonconformities will continue to apply. We won't exclude you from existence.
I've got a 24 by 50 home that is not a mobile home. It is
right. Do you know what's
not manufactured? It was built on site. We pulled the building permit to prove it.
right? And those are currently allowed, and of course, the non-conforming rights is there. We're prohibited from making regulatory takings. If we take your property, we have to compensate you. Something I learned in civics. I heard Second Amendment or something like that.
I have a question about the exterior buildings in a residential area. By me, there's one that was built that's about a 25 by 50 with a 12-foot sidewall, and it's a game room and bar, and then by a swimming pool near Lakeshore, near Paseo de Vaca and that area. And then there's another one that was built up the hill by one of the grandchildren of the original lady that used to own all of Barquet. And they built another one just like it. And supposedly, quote, quote, is supposed to match the exterior of the house, but the roof is bright green with yellow skylights. And it stands out like a sore thumb.
Is it, yeah, and that's, if you don't understand what we were referring to earlier, the definition of an accessory building is that it is not attached in any way, shape, or form to the house.
Well, it's not attached. These are not attached.
In any way, shape, or form?
No.
Well, then, if you will report them to us, we'll turn them in as
I don't have
violations.
to report. Everybody drives by it all the time. You can't miss them.
Well,
But
I
I'm
mean,
just curious how they got the permit and how it was passed.
I can answer that if you'll email me. I can't answer it now. I mean, I don't know where you're talking about. I'm sorry.
I don't know, are you in the building permit? Are you in the building permit department?
I'm ahead of the both.
Both?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so how did they get passed?
Well, ma'am, I haven't seen the permit. I don't review every permit.
Was it when the old guy, what's the guy that used to be here forever?
David Harrell.
Who? No, the permit guy that used to be here. Was it Jesse? What was his name?
He needs the address.
2008.
If you will email me the address,
I don't know
ma'am,
the address. It's on Dawn Drive, right? as
if
go
you
down
will
the hill.
email me any description whatsoever, I will
Does anybody in the city
investigate.
council know what I'm talking about? You don't know?
I think I have an idea which one you're talking about.
Yeah, the one down
You
by
can
the
email.
public swimming pool.
We will, I promise you,
drive
we
by it.
investigate all complaints.
All right, I'm not trying to cause a problem with them.
No,
I just want to know, if they keep springing up these 50-foot, that building is exactly like the one by the pool, the one that's up the hill going up Dawn. And it was built, last year and a half, 2 years. I'm just curious how you would do that, because we're thinking about building one, we're thinking a concrete block, and then put the gray stucco and put the stucco and all the stuff to match our house.
That if it's an accessory structure larger than 120 square feet, there's an existing ordinance that says it must match the house.
We'll have to look at it.
I don't see any stone on it either. I don't know.
Okay.
All right, any further comments, questions? All right, we will leave this one open as well and move to number 8. The Lago Vista City Council will hold a public hearing and discuss a potential amendment to the future land use map contained within the comprehensive plan adopted by ordinance number 16-05-05-02 regarding specific property at various locations fronting Loman Ford Road. I will open the public hearing at 7:32 p.m. Staff presentation.
Back to you, Roy.
I don't even know why you went and sat out.
Well,
The rest of us weren't going to show up for this meeting, Mayor. We're going to let Roy handle it, but we figured we'd just back him up just in case.
this is simply the corrections to the future land use map that we were talking about earlier that became, when we looked at the two corners of Dawn and Loman Ford Road, and we saw that, quite frankly, what the future land use map was recommending was basically a taking of their existing property rights. We said that can't be right, so we looked at, a fairly lengthy distance to, they were consistently recommending, the heavier, what I would call medium commercial uses along Loman Ford Road. And we tried to look at the property and try and figure out where they had changed their mind and why. And like I said, we took that to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and what you have in front of you is what they believe a correction of oversights when the comprehensive plan was adopted. Basically, what we would be doing is simply correcting what they feel were oversights, what I'll call them, and making it match their similar recommendations up and down Loman Ford Road. It's, as you may recall, our comments were, it didn't make sense for us to have, properties that were not on signalized corners be recommended to be heavy commercial uses, whereas the signalized corners were not being. So in looking at that, they looked up and down the road, and you have the corrections to the map in front of you.
So I don't have an aerial view. you got Loman Ford.
What you have is a before and after in the two maps.
Right, so the lots that are zoned low-density residential, I guess they're off of La Paloma?
Now, those are, for example, the applicant that was here, that's what I would call the northwest corner and all the existing commercial buildings in front of it. The land use map says tear those commercial uses down and turn them into residences. And everybody assured us that was an oversight and not intended, and was not consistent with the public comments made during the, development of the comprehensive plan.
Well, just looking, you're going from the church property south down Loman Ford. Future land use would change that to the commercial. But then east of that, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 lots. They're either low density or, well, some of it's neighborhood retail. I'm assuming that's the storage units.
Right.
But those 3 lots.
Well, and once again,
those are off of La Paloma and they're already existing residential?
And once again, understand the difference between a zoning map and a future land use map. It doesn't change the use of the property. That's a legislative act. Zoning changes will continue to come in front of you. The future land use map is what's supposed to guide the P&Z and and you guys ultimately when you make district changes or when those recommendations come in front of you. If there were lots that bordered other residential lots that might in theory have residences on them, it's not that the planning commission didn't think those might turn into residential properties. They were just going to leave that decision until the question came up and not change the future land use map because that was a closer call, if you will.
Okay.
They played it safe, if you will. The ones that were clearly commercial in their opinion. And you can see that the easiest place to see it is just what I would call north of Don Drive. Once you hit those residential lots that are already there that border on other residential lots and there's not a street intervening and separating them, they left those alone. They did not make that their recommendation was not to change those and wait and see what happens. They simply, their corrections they recommended were the ones that they felt were clear oversight.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Both the building committee and the P&Z have been looking to just clean up ordinances, so that's why you're seeing a lot of this public hearing stuff, because we're trying to clean up.
Yeah, I understand.
Okay.
Well, and as an aside note, the applicant for the current case, when he showed up to speak on the other application, he was at those meetings and suggested he even pointed that out during the development of the comprehensive plan, that was probably an error, and it just simply didn't get corrected. Planners do make mistakes. I promise.
Anything else from council? All right, this is a public hearing, so if anyone from the audience would like to make comments or ask questions, this is our last one. You'll have to wait till next meeting when we go through all 5 of them again. I'm sorry, 4 of them. All right, no other comments? We'll go ahead and we'll leave this one open as well. And we'll move into our consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are to be considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion. There will not be separate discussion on these items. If discussion is desired, the item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately. Number 9, approve the minutes from the October 4th, 2018 regular council meeting.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the October 4th, 2018 regular meeting.
I'll second.
All All right, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Hearing none, motion carries unanimous. We go into our work session. Number 10, city managers reports.
Mayor, I do have a couple updates. One just from our action earlier where the council officially canvassed the results from the election. Follow up by staff, we will carry through the charter updates. We'll get that processed and we'll be able to update your charters. That'll go into the next item. And per that action, all 7 items, as we said earlier, did pass. So the items that were presented from the Charter Review Committee to the council and then presented back to our citizens, 7 items presented and 7 items passed. What we will do next week is we'll finish up the new council packets. So our new councilors, including Mr. Collins, once he gets sworn in, will have your budget. We have new Surface Pros for our councilors, not just the new ones. The existing councilors get new toys as well. We'll be able to update those next week. Dave Street is getting those devices updated. They will have your email addresses included in them so that you'll have the city email addresses. For now, anything that I send out, I'll continue to use your current email addresses. So the ones that I've been using now, I'll send that to you. And I'll probably just follow it up with a text or something just to make sure you're getting those items. But we'll provide those documents to you next week, including budget books, council policies, and some other information that we put together. We'll contact you and we'll get those out to you next week. And then also, I'll send out an email. I would like to look at, maybe a stretch, but look at the month of December for a potential council retreat date. Again, the whole challenge is trying to get us together sooner rather than later. May be impossible. Who knows? It may not. We'll just check the dates and see. We'll send that out on an email and then just ask you to send some dates back to me that we think may or may not work so we can get together. And
Cancel meetings in December.
I know, but if we cancel one, I want to add one back just to make sure that we have all quality time together so we can hang out. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right. Future meetings. Number 11, consider our schedule and items for future council meetings. Do we have a sheet in here? I'm sorry, I didn't. Once I get to consent, I quit reading. All right, so the new members, we have liaison to Lago Vista POA, council liaison reports, landscaping ordinance, P&Z update to council, building committee update to council. Those are things that are currently future items. I don't know if y'all have been able to see that or not.
Yeah.
But if y'all have anything y'all can think of at the moment that you would like to see future agenda, let us know and we'll get them on there. Just so you know how we proceed, this meeting is an exception, but normally the first meeting of the month is when we have everything that's brought as far as presentations and discussion items. And the first time that you will see that should be the first meeting of the month, i.e. like the public hearings we have tonight. Normally I like to schedule them at the very first of the month. That way you've got a couple of weeks. It's coming right out of the planning and zoning meeting, the last Thursday of the month, coming to us the first Thursday of the month. We get to discuss it, go home and mull it over for 2 weeks, ask questions of staff, everything like that. And when we come back, the third meeting of the month is when we have our final presentation, hearings, whatever, and then take action. So going forward, that's the way we like to set it up. That way we don't hear and vote on everything in one session. Give everybody plenty of time to.
And we don't have to go to midnight.
Right. Right.
So, Mr. Mayor, our next meeting is December 6th?
It is.
Okay. And then the voting meeting would be the 20th?
Yes.
Okay.
Now, we do have some exceptions.
Yeah, yeah.
Like we had our first public hearing tonight. I guess we'll have our second one December 6th.
Right, correct.
And we'll take action on those that night. So that'll be,
An exception, yeah.
you know, out of the norm, but that's just the way it happens sometimes.
Yep.
Our public notices and the way planning and zoning, some of the other committees hear things, sometimes throws a kink into the schedule, but just. I sent y'all an email. I don't know if you've had a chance to see it or not. I have, of course, you know, we all attended the TML conference. I've had several vendors that want to come and do presentations. No promises or anything like that, but I figured let them give a chance to show their wares. So I have one that's coming December 6th that will be doing a presentation, just to show y'all.
Okay.
And we'll probably have more as the people from TML conference if trying to schedule things.
Mayor, from staff side, the only change we made, we figured since Roy did such a good job in the meeting tonight, we're going to let him present all items in the future. So again, the rest of us aren't going to present. Roy's just going to handle it. Seems to be a lot smoother that way. We'll just list that for every meeting.
All right. I'm game.
Does Roy get a pay increase for that?
Sure. Same as you.
Thank you. I'm trying to help you, Roy.
All right, if we have no more future meeting items, I do have, I'm gonna stay with this real quick. Schedule. So as I said, right now we have December 6th, December 20th. 20th is pushing holidays. If we need to change that meeting or cancel it altogether, whatever we want to do, we need to probably hash that out no later than the December 6th meeting.
Okay.
Because then we'll have to make announcements and reschedule things, so just be aware.
Gotcha.
All my kids live out of state, so I won't be here for Christmas.
Do you have anybody from TML presenting on the 20th? We're expecting to?
No, not right now, no. And these are just vendors, they're not really TML people, these are vendors, you know, that I drop my card in and they're calling and go, hey, can I come show you my stuff? I'm like, sure, why not?
Gotcha.
All right, now we will go into executive session. Number 12, convene into executive session pursuant to sections 551.071, advice of counsel, 551.072, real property, 551.074, personnel, section 551.087, economic development, Texas Government Code, and section 1.05, Texas disciplinary rules of professional conduct regarding A, consultation with legal counsel concerning any regular meeting agenda item requiring confidential attorney-client advice necessitated by the deliberation or discussion of said item. This is as needed. B, consultation with legal counsel and discussion concerning possible real estate acquisition, management, or divestiture and attendant matters thereto. C, consultation with legal counsel regarding contractual claims or possible claims or charges, contractual modifications, and questions related thereto. D, consultation with legal counsel and deliberate economic development incentives for projects located within the city of Lago Vista. Folks, we don't have a lot to discuss, so I invite you to stick around and welcome our new council meetings after the executive session, if you would like. And we will convene into executive session at 7:48 p.m. And I will give you Lago radio for your listening enjoyment. I'm sorry.
Radio.
will get. That's
Oh,
new.
yeah, that's interesting. I'm kind of excited about it. Ambiance.
Holiday favorites as well. So you definitely don't want to miss this delightful country tradition. Lago Vista is truly glad to have such a vibrant arts and music community. Come celebrate the Hill Country Singers' 24th anniversary.
Well, we're good.
Lago Vista.
And we've asked, it's come up. You want me to guess what planning and zoning's gonna do? That doesn't sound right. So, you know, I
Well, no, I'm
can't.
talking about making instead of a 7-day requirement, a 6-day requirement, so you have,
Yeah.
still get 6 days.
And what happens is, and this is the way it is, and our packets are due to be in the city council members' hands before the close of business for Thursday before the meeting. Okay, well, planning and zoning meets that night.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they cut it a day shorter.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So if you,
well, it's
anything
the
you
council
can,
packet.
anything you can provide us, because like I say,
That's
we've
the one I
gone to
can't
our
get them.
U.S. Rep.
You know, and
Roger
I've asked them,
Williams'
do you want me to guess what
office.
P and Z's gonna do? Send you a packet based on the guess? And the answer has